as I just mentioned, Tomlinson has been reported to have interest from Collingwood after the first two games in the VFL for North Melbourne. He's had 26 touches, or averaging 26 touches in his last two games, 9 intercept possessions. He just recently played against Hawthorn. I'm pretty sure North are 2-0. He's paired with the likes of Matt Whitlock, who is I think he was a early second rounder, late first rounder pick for North Melbourne. So one of the Whitlock twins doing some really strong work in the back line there. Yeah, well, Tomlinson was sort of in the same hat as Jaden Laverde when we were talking about key defender prospects last year in delisted free agency and just, I guess, the trade period as well, because Laverde was under contract, so there would have been a need to initiate and negotiate a trade with Essendon if that was ever to transpire. The easier option seemed like it would be Tomlinson, and to be fair, when I did my predicted 23 way back when at the end of 2024 or during that time frame, I thought Tomlinson would come in. If you want to go back to that video, I had him in my 23 just because of what I'd already seen with Billy Frampton and Charlie Dean. Reef McInnes wasn't really at the forefront of anyone's mind at this point in a trade period. We didn't even know if Reef McInnes was going to be at the club, let alone be a backman in 2025. So that wasn't a part of the conversation at that stage. Nathan Kruger was sort of, I mean, I threw up the idea. I mean, my ideas don't go too far. I'm just a bystander. I just here to talk and waffle. That's what we're all here for. So I'm not a coach. So, but I thought I like to think I watch enough footy and have enough like sporting comprehension from other lives that I've lived to see that someone like Kruger had some potential as a backman. And ironically, guys, Nathan Kruger is playing for Geelong in the VFL side as a defender. He's played the first two games, so he's healthy, and he seems to be doing okay as far as the stats are concerned. I put my hand up. I haven't watched him. Yet, but I can tell, or I know that he's playing in the back line and it seems to be doing okay. So, close watch on that. And I truly wish Kruger all the best. He's only 26, so if he can find some continuity, he's in a good system at Geelong, so they don't mess about with their VFL squad. A lot of some of their best players have come from their VFL system, so he's in a good environment to give himself the best opportunity to spring back into AFL contention at whichever club that may be. Some of you might be wondering, or maybe not, but some of you might be wondering, why are we talking Tomlinson? Why are we talking mid-season draft now? Well, prior to Reef McInnes getting injured, our list was full. It was at capacity. We were umming and ahhing about Ash Johnson. We don't know whether he's going to be placed on the long-term injury list just yet. But as it stands, quite clearly, Reef definitely will be placed on the long-term injury list, which subsequently opens up a spot on our list to get someone in like a Tomlinson in the mid-season draft. Just if we know Fly well enough, if we don't already, and he has a certain way in putting together a squad, and he wants someone who is ready now. And I think while Tomlinson doesn't have the potential because he's at the end of his career, you know what you're going to get from him, and I think Fly probably likes that safety net. You know what you're going to get. Simple as that. He's decent by foot. He's not really much of an intercepting player at VFL level. That's a different conversation. 8.5 intercept possessions over the last 2 games. If we want to go beyond that and look at 2024, he averaged 24 touches in those games and 9 intercept possessions per game. Does it translate to AFL level? Not really. In 2024, he played 8 games for the D's. How many intercept possessions did he have? Okay, 6.6. It's not too bad, but his intercepting marking game isn't quite there. 1.41 in 23, nearly 2 in 22. Okay. You know, that's what I'm saying. Like it'll do. You know what you're gonna get with Adam Tomlinson. The other thing we have to keep in mind, guys, is if we are top four in the mid-season by the time we get to the midpoint of the season, who's to say we might not even get first dibs at Tomlinson? Fact is, Tomlinson won't go interstate. I don't think he won't go to Perth. I think his family is here. I remember reading an article where there was an importance of or an emphasis on like if he's going to play, it's ideally going to be in Victoria. So I don't think a West Coast or a Port Adelaide or a St Kilda would pick. St Kilda, different story because they're in Victoria, but these interstate clubs that are dying for defenders at the moment, they're probably not going to pick someone at their age who doesn't want to move. I know the national draft, you don't have much autonomy in where you want to go. Like if you're from Melbourne and you're pick number one and West Coast have pick number one, you go on the West Coast, Harley Reid. So that's just the way it is the national draft. But mid-season draft, I think you can have honest conversations with the player, go, give him a nudge, like, hey, we take you coming or nah? And I think Tomlinson, as much as he probably wants to get back to AFL, he wouldn't be playing VFL if he didn't want to get back into AFL is the way I see things. Why are people so negative? I'm repeating that because I'm asking myself that because I want to let that soak in for a second. So why are people so negative whenever a player is linked to the Pies? I wouldn't say that everyone feels that way. I think if we want to be specific to what we're talking about right now, I think people are coming from a perspective of, well, this guy Tomlinson is 31. He's just been delisted. Nobody else poached him. He's had a couple good games in the VFL, and so he should, being a mainstay at AFL level for a very long time. I think people were just wanting something better than that. But in Tomlinson's defense, what else is there in the market right now this early? It's kind of predictable when a recently delisted free agent who was in the rumour mill, spoken about, linked to Collingwood, linked to other clubs, linked to West Coast, and then he comes out in his first two games for North Melbourne in the VFL, and he collects, 26 touches, averaging 9 intercept possessions a game over the course of the two games. It's just an easy headline, isn't it? But there is some truth to the fact that Collingwood are interested in him because of Tom Morris's report. But if someone is going to have form in the VFL and they have a name from prior experience at the top level, they're going to draw attention before you hear other names in the VFL, which is the more challenging thing is identifying these players in the VFL who have potential to play at AFL level, but don't have the name or the aura to bring the attention to the front and really show off their skill set in the limelight or the spotlight. So Tomlinson sort of ticks all those boxes because of his prior experience and has been in the conversation with Collingwood in the past. So that's probably that one there. I wouldn't throw the blanket over Karen and say that we're always negative whenever a player's into the Pies. I can only address it case by case. What a great story it would be if Charlie McCartin gets an AFL gig in the mid-season draft. He's on Collingwood's radar. We just mentioned Shane O'Brien, how he's going to pull some strings. He's actually mentioned in here. Shane O'Brien, now at the Pies, scouted him at the Cats, Swans, and Saints also tracked him while playing for Lorne in 2024. He's stepped up to VFL level nicely so far. Shane O'Brien helped bring him to the Cats as well. All right. So Shane O'Brien brought him from Sydney to Geelong. He's played the first two games. He's had 19 touches and 17 against Sandy and the Northern Bull Ants. Without watching his game, I'm just trying to make up a little bit of an illustration of what we're going to get from the man. McCartin, averaging 9 intercept possessions. He's 27. He turns 28. It's sort of that like age bracket where Geelong themselves might say, hold on a minute, we want Charlie McCartin. He's 27. He's mature. He's thriving in the VFL Geelong system. Shock, another player who's just doing super well at VFL level for Geelong. They might just become the next Tom Stewart before you know it. They got that Connor O'Sullivan bloke who's 200 centimeters tall, but runs like Usain Bolt and can do it all. Really, he's going to be a specimen. He's a bit of a unicorn himself. Then you got Tom Atkins who's come through, Oscar Mullen. Like these sort of players, they just come through the VFL system at Geelong. They don't need to pluck people from. Of course, they pluck players from other AFL lists, but they do very well growing their own talent. Like this guy is coming from Lawn, playing for Geelong this year, and we're already talking AFL.